So most certainly another busy day at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. A number of issues being canvassed with the former head of IDAC, but somebody that's been watching quite closely everything that has been taking place at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is my colleague Ayanda Nyathi. He's at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College and joins us now to give us a comprehensive wrap of everything that we've heard thus far. Very good morning to you, Ayanda. Yet again, we're hearing today a number of concessions from the former IDAC head, but most importantly here being the selective prosecution idea that has been brought to the fore by Commissioner Sesibaloyi, that according to her, she felt that an issue of secret service / funds being possibly given to a former police minister would be something that falls within their mandate, but was something that was not of interest to pursue or ask the investigators how far they are with that. But you have everything else pertaining to Dumisani Khumalo being pursued.
Absolutely. You might remember that there were a list of allegations that were contained in the supposed Section 27 referral. And if you were to ask me, I'd say the overarching question really that still is at the center of the Commission's work is what justified IDAC's behavior at different points. When they did investigate, why did they do that? And when they did not, which we understand is the case insofar as the allegations against Bheki are concerned, why did they not go ahead with those investigations? Canny Maphanga has been listening into that testimony and also joins us now live, Canny. And once again, it really is the question that has, I suppose, been a point of bother for the Commission since Andrea Johnson's first day on the stand, which is to get to the bottom of really the substantiation that IDAC is able to present for why they went for certain people and why others were essentially let go of.
Indeed. We see that the IDAC under former IDAC head, Advocate Andrea Johnson, was knee-deep in the internal affairs of crime intelligence. But what slips up in her documentation is that they also had a great interest in the political killings task team. Now, we already know through the evidence in chief that we heard during phase 1 that Khumalo served 2 roles. He was the crime intelligence boss, but he also was the commander, essentially, of the PKTT. And at the time that there was all this attention on the PKTT, they were closing in on alleged cartel members that are alleged to have had close relations with high-ranking SABC officials, things of that nature. So effectively what you see in the documentation is that it dismantles this position that she tries to take, that she is someone who didn't know what her team was getting up to. Because at the very least, the summons that she authorizes when she requests for information on what should be a deviation into the appointment of Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo as the crime intelligence boss, but somewhere down the line, it slips in that they want information relating to the appointments or promotions of the commander and members of the political killings task team. Why does she need that information? What is that information of interest to IDAC for? And this is the question that she's now grappling with. Not only does it prove that she knew that PKTT was part of the overall aim of IDAC allegedly, it was part of their investigations, but she authorized something that directly speaks to the PKTT. We know that she's struggling to answer the question now, but there's no way you would add an entire specific request about the commander and the members overall of the PKTT team. Why do you want to investigate them all? Of what interest is that to IDAC, which has a very specific mandate of high-level corruption, but you find itself in those internal crime intelligence affairs, and now it's shown in the documentation itself that she authorized, she signed that document, that she was requesting information relating to the commander and the members of the PKTT, that is all the members of the political killings task team, and the question is of what benefit does that deal with in terms of Fayo Adams' statement about deviations. How is that connected at all? The two don't find each other at all. So it's very bizarre, the inclusion of the PKTT there, and it raises more questions as to how that was any of IDAC's business and why it was an interest of them to get that particular information.
It takes us back to the claims that were made by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi in that famous July 6th briefing, who at that time said that as far as he's concerned, IDAC is being used to wage some kind of internal battle within the SAPS and more specifically to target the PKTT.
Indeed, that is something something that he did put forth in the allegations in chief, and it is something that he discussed during the July media briefing. And we're starting to see how IDAC went above and beyond its mandates. The only thing that remains in the air is what motivated this conduct. And this is something that the Commission is trying to crack from Advocate Andrea Johnson as the former IDAC head. She can't hide behind her resignation. All of this took place under her watch. And she is authorizing these documents. So if you authorize something, you're fully aware of what is in the target of IDAC. And she needs to explain what is the why behind that. We've heard the allegations of what the why could possibly be.
Right.
But it should be IDAC, or rather the former IDAC head, Advocate Johnson, that explains why she took an interest in all the members of the PKTT and its commanders, why she took an interest in the appointment of General Khumalo, because she concedes that if someone is headhunted, that does not reach the conclusion that someone's appointment is unlawful. So what motivates this interest in the internal affairs, not only of crime intelligence, but going far beyond your mandate and now looking into members of the PKTT? It appears from the documents and the evidence that allegedly there may be a third hand at play here, allegedly an interest that could have been served there. But it's about getting the question or the answer of the why from Advocate Johnson herself, because none of the requested information in that particular subpoena makes sense in terms of what she states that they were trying to investigate. They're investigating that paragraph of Fadio Adams' statement that spoke about the misuse of the Secret Service funds, but of course the alleged improper appointments. And that only spoke of the previous minister's appointment of Khumalo as a crime intelligence boss. Where then does the PKTT come into play if that indeed was the initial allegation that informed the subpoena for the request of information?
You speak about the alleged abuse of those secret slush funds, and that's what brings Begicele into the mix. I want to pause our conversation there, Canny, and take us to a part of this testimony where Advocate Baloyi asked the witness on the stand, in Advocate Andrea Johnson, why it is that that issue, the alleged abuse of these slush funds by the former minister, was not investigated, because on the face of it, that is the case that falls within IDAC's mandate. Take a listen.
The first part of that paragraph 5, the suspicion of funds being unlawfully taken from the secret fund to former Minister Begicele, it seems to me that out of this whole affidavit, this would be the one that obviously would fall within the mandate of IDAC to investigate.
Correct.
Do you accept that?
I accept that.
Okay. Was anything done about it? Was any further statements taken? Was any investigation initiated on this allegation?
Commissioner Baloyi, I am not sure how far the investigation team has gone or what they would have done in relation to this matter.
But you would know if an investigation was conducted. I mean, you know about the others.
Yes.
Something was done and they've been classified into 6 legs that you can speak to.
Correct.
It's fair to say you would know if there was an investigation into this as part of the briefings that you're getting arising from this Section 27.
Correct, and I didn't receive a briefing on this.
And so until there is evidence that there was an investigation, it is fair to surmise that nothing came out of this.
I have nothing to gainsay your proposition.
Yes. Now, directing this to you, you've seen this affidavit,
Correct.
this Section 27. You've told us it came to you. When you realize, I mean, you familiarized yourself with this and you were satisfied, as you have told us, that, that there was a case to be investigated further. When you see this, do you not ask, don't you say to them, what is happening about that allegation about Minister Cele? How come I'm not hearing anything about it?
Commissioner, I know that in the Section 2813,
Yes.
that would have been one of the matters as they were broken up and authorized. I didn't ask questions about how far they were with each investigation. They presented each leg of investigation as they got to their completion. I didn't specifically ask about this, but I do know it forms part of the authorization of the investigation.
You see, it's the one allegation that I would have expected or thought it would catch your attention, because it is the most serious of the allegations, but more importantly, it is the one allegation that squarely falls within your mandate, and yet you went on, your investigators, but including you, because you were getting briefings, you signed off on a prosecution memorandum, you signed off on whatever was happening, the formal steps that needed to be taken. But the one allegation in this affidavit that falls squarely within your mandate, or would fall within your mandate if there is any merit to it, it's quite curious that it is the one that you don't get involved with, that you are unable to speak to, that you don't seem to have paid attention to. And that's quite a curiosity in the circumstances, considering that the rest of the affidavit has nothing to do with IDAC, right? The other allegations, they have absolutely, if you have fairly considered, have absolutely nothing to do with the mandate of IDAC, but the one that has is the one that nothing is done about. And again, it raises the question, what in fact was going on? Why this misdirection? And it cannot be oversight. You know, it can't be. There was a deliberate decision to focus on the others. Hopefully we will find out why. But this speaks to, it was too inconvenient, maybe, to look at, or it was really not the focus of the intention of this affidavit and the investigation that follows. On the extreme end, it speaks to selective investigations and prosecutions.
All right, there you have it. Really sobering questions there from Advocate Baloyi, who's asking, almost in a rhetorical sense, whether IDAC didn't go the direction of probing the alleged abuse of the slush fund because it was too inconvenient, or perhaps whether this speaks to something a whole lot more sinister and deliberate. Once again, let's bring in Canny Maphanga as we make sense of this. And Canny, I suppose, once again, there's a bit of a pattern that's emerging here.
Yeah, there's definitely a pattern that's showing up with IDAC's operational methods, or at least how they approach this statement of Fadil Adams, using one small issue to head to a different direction, ignore the very claim that's being made in the statement of Adams, and then launch another alleged parallel investigation into an issue that falls way outside of their mandates. And we need to get an understanding as to why IDAC kept doing it with respect to crime intelligence, and now we're adding the political killings task team, because clearly that was the interest. And the question is why? Why was the statement of Fadil Adams, which said nothing about these issues, being used as almost a bit of a springboard to get into a different direction that falls way outside of IDAC's mandate and what is being alleged in the Section 27 referral itself? And we hope that with the continuation of this probing, that the Commission will be able to get to the answer behind that particular question.
And that probing is expected to continue at 11:30. For now, Canny Maphanga, our senior reporter here at the Bridget Mabanda Justice College. Thanks very much indeed. We'll also make sure, I beg your pardon, that at 11:30 we continue listening in to every word from the witness who's currently on the stand as this commission tries to get to the bottom of the claims made against her and the unit that until yesterday she is to lead.
All right, Ayanda, thank you very much for that reportage. SABC News anchor Ayanda Nyathi in conversation there with senior reporter Canny Maphanga.